a speck of dust floating in the vast space. On it lie tiny corporations stretching themselves to stand shoulder to shoulder with God. You live here. You've always lived here. And yet, you forget that your story began before there was anything to remember. There are no drums at the beginning, no fanfare, no flags, just wind. The kind that hums through tall grasses and rustles the fur of a creature. Not yet human, not yet anything. You, in a different body. You, in silence. The earth was in no rush. It warmed the oceans, cracked the crust, invited the moon closer and waited. You were bone once, just bone. A piece of spine buried in East African soil, a jaw gnawed clean, a toe pressed into ash beside a much larger foot. But something in you stood up. You didn't know why, but your hands were empty, and your eyes looked further than any other animals had. Not higher, just further. At night, you watched the stars burn above savannas. In the day, you watched vultures circle what you could not kill. This was how it began, with a question your brain couldn't yet form. What else can I become? Your fingers learned stone before they knew skin. You flaked rock into blades and carved the bones of fallen beasts. Not for art, not for glory, for marrow, for meat. You scavenged before you hunted. You were late to the feast of evolution, and so you learned quickly. Your silence was the silence of waiting, watching. Every failure was a data point in your biology. Every broken bone, a lesson etched in pain. The earth didn't give you dominion, it gave you desperation. And so you built. First tools, then fires, then clans, and then slowly myths. You see that bird fly backward into the setting sun. That's not a bird anymore. That's a spirit, a warning, a messenger. You needed stories. The world was too large without them. So you told them. Under a moonlit sky, your ancestors sat beside a fire that was both warmth and magic. They didn't just eat, they remembered. They didn't just hunt, they honored. Burial began, memory took root, humanity was not born, it was rehearsed, ritualized, repeated. Your brains swelled not just with knowledge, but with weight. Ideas grew heavier than spears. You began to imagine what came after death. And suddenly, the earth grew full of gods. The tower was not built in a day. It was built with knees in the mud, with backs bent under stone. You farmed. You forgot what hunger felt like. And in that forgetting, you began to store grain in barns and secrets in scrolls. You named your neighbors foreigners and their gods false. The more you remembered, the more you divided. You wore cloth. You stacked bricks. You pointed to the sky and said, "We belong there." And earth bilai hai beneath your feet, hummed softly, careful. In the age of stone, your teeth still cracked nuts. In the age of bronze, you began to decorate war. In the age of empires, you enslaved time, calendars, contracts, kings. Cities bloomed like fungi after a rainstorm. Temples rose where forests once stood. And language became the longest thread you ever spun. But even now, if you listen, you can still hear the wind over wheat fields, the breath of early morning before the market opens. And something underneath it all sighs. Humans are the bugs that are itching the skin of the earth. You think of progress like an arrow, but the truth is, it loops. Every kingdom carries within it the seed of its fall. You see it in Babylon's bricks, in Rome's columns, in the buried bones of Mayan kings. All that's left is a whisper. Did it work? Every time you build higher, you forget the ground is still moving. Then came steam, steel, electricity. You turned Earth's silence into hums, into engines, into miles of rails. You no longer traveled by foot. You conquered by train. A child born in firelight now lives in electric glow. And still you ask, what else can I become? The earth gave you oil like it gave you water, slowly, from deep veins. And you drilled without asking why it bled black. Soon, every nation burned what had taken millennia to bury. Coal turned your skies grey. Machines turned your hands idle. You built clocks, then bombs, and all the while, the earth itched. At the peak of your invention, you stood on the moon and looked back, blue, fragile, alive. But even then, you didn't stop. You built microchips, cities of screens. You invented permanence by accident. You are still just an ape with questions. But now, you wear earbuds and swipe right on love. The tower is no longer built of stone. It's built of data, of thoughts that don't dissolve, of dreams that get recycled into dopamine and distraction. Your feet are clean now. No more mud, no more blood. But beneath your polished shoes, the ground remembers. Ashes, fossils, footprints. You ask again, what else can I become? The earth whispers, it's time for humans to be eliminated. But not with rage, not with fire, with forgetting your greatest invention wasn't the wheel or the computer. It was yourself, layer upon layer of belief, of identity, of imagined borders. You became a myth wrapped in skin, a dream with a credit score, a child who thinks the planet was made for it, not with it. And so the earth watches, waits, not in anger, but in weariness. You are the tool that writes its final sentence, and maybe you are not the protagonist of this story, just the narrator, just the sound of breath against glass, a trace of thought floating in a house of bone. You wake up beneath a ceiling of invisible dust. Not the kind that gathers on bookshelves, but the kind that never settles. The kind that floats in your breath, that rides the wind into your lungs, that clings to the oceans, the clouds, the unborn. This dust has your name on it. Not the one your parents gave you, the one you earned by building things that outlived you. Plastic, microplastic, petrochemical ghosts, a legacy without a death date. You thought you were building a future, but maybe you were crowning yourself. The plastic age did not begin with waste. It began with wonder, a material that bent like nothing before it. Waterproof, fireproof, cheap. It made medical miracles, space-age machines, electric cords and baby bottles. Your factories hummed with triumph. Gentle sound cue, a soft conveyor belt rolls, a newborn cries in a plastic incubator. But soon it spread. It cracked into bags, wrappers, toys, threads, and you made more and more and more. You did not stop to ask the earth what it wanted, because you no longer saw it. Fish began swallowing colors that didn't belong. Tiny dots, invisible to the eye, entered every current. You could no longer see the water without seeing yourself. Then came the soil. Fields once full of seeds now hosted polyethylene. Rain fell and brought the future with it. Tiny polymers, singing in silence. Even the air betrayed you. You breathed in 6 credit cards worth of plastic a month, a synthetic communion. Still there? You smiled. Still there? You said, "It's progress." You became Earth's microplastic makers. You replaced coral reefs with bottle caps, turned forests into packaging, transformed oil into earrings, cups, and confetti. What once returned to the earth, banana peel, bone, bark, now sat in landfills, immortal. Even your clothes began to betray you. One wash, one sweater, thousands of fibers, gone with the rinse. You're made of water, yes, but also petroleum and pride. A whisper through the wind. What happens when even decay dies? You keep inventing words to delay consequence. Recyclable, eco-friendly, biodegradable. But language can't compost. You build machines to eat the problem. You hire children to sort your trash on faraway shores. You dig new holes, Mexico. You export the itch. But the earth feels it still. And now, it scratches back. Ice melts, cities flood. Fires swallow towns that thought themselves eternal. You post hashtags, donate $5, turn off the lights for an hour, but the oceans don't care for your candles. The bugs in your skin, the ones Earth can't scrub clean, multiply. And it begins to whisper again. It's time for humans to be eliminated, not in punishment, but in balance. You once made myths of floods and purges. You imagined gods washing away sin with water, with fire. But maybe it's not a god this time. Maybe it's a whale's stomach full of toothbrushes. Maybe it's a child born sterile from microplastics. Maybe it's a seabird starving on a beach made of wrappers. Pause. Imagine a future where no child remembers grass, where the air smells of melted nylon, where sunsets reflect off plastic islands in the Pacific. You see the stars again, but this time there's a smoggy lens between you and them. You forget what it meant to be soft, to decay, to belong to the cycle. But the earth remembers how to clean itself, a process that doesn't require rage, only time. And you've given it so much already. Now, beneath the soil, bacteria evolve to eat your legacy. Mushrooms rise to consume polyurethane. Enzymes awaken in the guts of worms. Life reshapes your mistake into food. Slowly, the earth turns your crown into compost. And still, you whisper into the sky, "What else can I become?" The answer is silence, not death, just pause. The pause between one story and another. Perhaps the earth is not eliminating you, only forgetting you, like an itch finally scratched. And yet, somewhere, a child plants a tree, not for oxygen, not for carbon, but because it's beautiful. A rebel act in a plastic world. You are not the first mistake. You will not be the last. But you are the loudest, the brightest, the most persistent ghost in a system that forgets all things eventually. The earth turns. It breathes. It adjusts. It dreams. And tonight, in your sleep, it whispers, "Rest. I'll take it from here." You began as breathless wonder, a tremor in Earth's long rhythm, upright, cautious, curious. In the Rift Valley's heat, you learned fire not from fury, but from need. In every tool, a question. In every myth, a mirror. The world shaped you in its image. Cycles of birth and burial, hunger and harmony, yet you dared to shape the world in yours. Civilizations rose, each louder than the last. You wrote stories in stone, in blood, in fiber optic cables. You dreamed your way into cities that swallowed rivers, skies stitched with satellites. But the tower you built on the bones of what came before. You forgot the silence that taught you to listen. You began to itch, and so did the earth. You became something new, not animal, not God, but manufacturer. The tools once held in your hands now replicate your waste. You crowned yourself with a plastic laurel, woven from oil and appetite. It glittered. It endured. It poisoned. And still, you called it progress. You spread across oceans without touching water. You conquered skies without wings. And all the while, invisible threads of what you created settled into the lungs of fish, into clouds above mountains, into the wombs of mothers who never chose to carry plastic in their blood. But the earth, that old storyteller, has always had a longer breath than yours. It watched patiently as fungi awakened to your polymers, as bacteria learned to eat what you thought immortal. It whispered to the roots, the wind, the tide, "Take it back. The story is not a warning, not a judgment, not even a requiem. It's a soft turning of the page. You, human, were never the final chapter. You were the experiment written in ink that doesn't fade, but doesn't last. But now, as the stars blink gently above a quieter world, as new species inherit your abandoned niches, you're not remembered with hatred or praise. You are sediment. You are static. You were the itch, but the skin is healing. So sleep now. Let the winds carry what's left of your crown to the sea. Let the earth dream again. And if one day it dreams another you, may you listen better.